Good afternoon, and thank you all for joining us today. I'm really excited to work with you all and share the exciting news about change. But before we begin, we want to talk a little bit about where we came from. The Joint Affinity Group was founded in 1993 in an effort to unify identity-based affinity groups in a strategic network. And over the past 2 decades, as JAG, we have worked to educate grant makers about the value of inclusion in foundations, including increased understanding of the interrelatedness and multiple identities and issues that are represented from our network and in our community. Our core partners, as Biz had shared, are the APIP, Asian American and Pacific Islanders in Philanthropy, the Association of Black Foundation Executives, or APFI, Emerging Practitioners in Philanthropy, or EPIP, Funders for LGBTQ Issues, Hispanics in Philanthropy, or HIP, Native Americans in Philanthropy, or NAP, and Women's Funding Network. We have had, over the last 20+ years, some fluctuation, but the core of our partners have been these affinity groups who are centered around community and identity-based work. Over those 20 years, as I said, JAG worked in multiple areas to move an agenda of inclusivity, diversity, and ultimately equity forward in philanthropic conversations. And as we began to do that, we developed our practice and evolved our work. And that evolution continues today into what we now are sharing and presenting is Change Philanthropy. In part of our work as the Joint Affinity Groups that has evolved to our work here at Change, we really were strategic about when we worked together in partnership and in coalition and collaboration, and identified 3 primary areas for our first 2 decades of work. The first, advancing equity in philanthropy through cutting-edge analysis that drew upon our partners' experience, perspectives, knowledge, and values that were engaged and present in their work. The second area which we saw strategic alignment in our work was around aligning the actual work we were doing between our partners and allies in the field in order to build a more equitable and equity for diverse communities. And that looked like hosting convenings, pulling resources and tools together, developing intersectional strategies, and uniting upon shared interests. And then finally, our third area in our areas of focus as JAG was activating change and philanthropy in moving resource or attention to diverse communities through our collaborative practices, through mobilizing our partners and allies, and identifying action in which our partners, members, and network could be involved in. So over that 20-year history, we continued to evolve individually, institutionally, and as a larger network and collection. We began to work and integrate diversity, inclusion, social justice practice deeper into our networks and our membership frameworks. And as the individual partners, organizations developed and deepened their work, so did our need to be more strategic about collectively addressing equity. JAG's evolution and our work around our core partners has been through the support of each other, through advisement and framing on issues in the field. And our process for this next level of shift really was connected and solidified in 2014 when our partners held the Unity Summit. We brought together over 450 philanthropic professionals, really focused on intersectional content, relationship exploration, and allyship building. This gathering catalyzed energy and opportunity to address and focus philanthropic energy on the conversation around equity. It allowed us to align our networks. And over the following year, we began to see an evolution happen between our work institutionally and in partnership. In 2015, we became more concrete around what that evolution would look like, and we began to rethink our work, refocus our energy, and form into Change Philanthropy. One of the major differences between the JAG as we all knew it in the field and the shift to Change is allowing us to open up and be more field-facing, advocacy engaged, and coalition building in that framework. To begin our process, we really had to work with our 7 partners to identify what were the shared values in which we could move this work forward. Where did we coalesce, and where could we synchronize our energy and activities? And 5 core areas were identified that were very intrinsic to all of our work. One is that our work, our outcomes, our impact are community-centered. 2, that we're supporting and promoting positive social change. 3, that we're working in collaboration and partnership with each other. 4, that the change space is really about the intersectional approaches and opportunities within philanthropy. And 5, that we honor and hold in our center the practices and movement building towards equity, inclusion, and diversity. By uniting our networks, our skills, and our resources, we are a broader coalition and network committed to making this and seeking a broader and higher vision. In that process in 2015, we also went through a pretty intensive theory of change process to really identify where and how we wanted to be, the vision we saw for philanthropic change, and how we could uniquely play a part in that. We refocused the overarching outcome we'd like to see and major goal, which is philanthropy works in partnership with underserved communities to build a strong and inclusive society. And within that, we saw 2 primary areas in which we wanted to see significant change, and that was around having a sector that was more equitable, had a more equitable distribution of philanthropic resources to support diverse communities, and then the actual community culture part shift as well, so that there was a status quo of philanthropic culture intentionally supporting diversity, equity, and inclusion. This clarification of our shared goals, expanded network and vision, and areas of impact allowed us to clarify what vision of philanthropy we see as ideal, and that is that our vision is around transforming and challenging philanthropic culture to advance equity for the benefit of all communities and ignite positive social change. To do that and to grow us towards that mission, our vision, our mission really is about creating a broader coalition. Change Philanthropy is a coalition of philanthropic networks working together to strengthen bridges across funders and communities. We are transforming philanthropy from within by building knowledge, fostering diversity, and creating connection. We hold our center collectively around the idea that Change Philanthropy as a coalition brings a unique sense of expertise, competency, and lived experience into this intersectional work. What makes us unique is an advocacy of community priorities of our partners with an intersectional approach. Each partner organization manages and organizes their resources, builds networks and the connections between folks, and represents the communities that they are actively advocating and engaged with. That lived experience shapes the work that they individually do and then ultimately what we do collectively, giving us a connection to the strengths and assets of each of the different communities, as well as a better assessment of opportunities, needs, and solutions. Together, we're working to raise the level of dialogue and shift the practice among funders so that philanthropic dollars are dispersed through equitable practices and in a culture that supports and honors that work, and that we are able to address the true concerns of community. We look to serve as that bridge, given that our networks are made up and compromised of folks with varying lived experiences connected to those identities, and in an intersectional way to bridge the work that foundations are actually doing and our allied partners within that work. To reach this overarching goal and support our philanthropic partners in this work, we've been investing intentionally on the impact we're trying to have in the communities we're working with. And to get there, we've identified a number of strategic approaches in which we will address the work around structural and institutional change, and then we will coalesce individual groups, network communities together in order to achieve this. And we believe united, we can move the philanthropic sector forward, create real change in support of those communities in philanthropic investment. To give a little background into what are these areas in which change philanthropy looks to support individuals, institutions, partner with field sector-wide partners, we've devised these 5 strategic approaches. The first is to celebrate impact. We want to recognize individuals and institutions, foundations, and donors who have made a strong commitment to advancing equity across all communities. Second is to build knowledge. We will offer a resource hub of data, best practices, events, tools, all with an equity lens. We will provide some curation of how to navigate those tools and different editorial options for how you come into the work and how you can move through the spectrum of diversity, equity, and inclusion. And finally, and thirdly, we will work to expand leadership, to deepen the relationships within the leadership pipeline, to authentically engage diverse, experienced candidates at levels of the board, at staff, in our field partners across the way, to really have that lived experience, that intersectional identity, be able to be honored in leadership, more fully in leadership. Our fourth area is to create connections. That's fostering the creative and collaborative space to strengthen bridges across our sector, to support partnerships in shared practice, and to develop strategies for impact. And that may happen virtually, like we're doing today. It'll happen in person. It'll happen at partner spaces. And it will happen because of change agents and allies like those of you on the call today. And then finally, our final area is cultivating partnerships. We look to help continue the coordination and advancement of programs that promote effective intersectional approaches. We help to initiate deeper dialogues and activities around how we ignite positive social change within our sector. Change Philanthropy is excited about what this means moving forward, and while our work is still grounded in the values of each of our partner organizations and in the network that we provide, we are looking to build a broader coalition. We are looking at new strategies, and we're looking forward to engaging folks within that work as we move forward.